welcome to Food for Your Mind, episode 5. Today I'll be reviewing Wendy's Son of Baconator and The Night Ocean by Paul LaFarge. As you can see, this is like the junior bacon cheeseburger version of the Baconator. I like that they call it Son of Baconator and not Baconator Jr. because it gives it a more of a monster type vibe. This is actually pretty good. I'm very, very hungry today, but this is better than the full-size version. I can tell you that right now. Yeah, between that triple and the original Baconator, I've been eating some crazy nonsense recently. This is very refreshing. Okay, that was definitely better than the last couple things I've had. I'm going to give that a 6. I'm excited because this is the last burger for a while. I'm going to move into the chicken sandwich region. Oh, these are good fries today. Uncharacteristically good fries. I think I'm actually going to revise upward by 1 point because the fries were so good. I'm actually going to give that a 7. Not a 6, but a 7 for the Son of Baconator. Now, to move on to The Night Ocean, I want to say up front why I decided to review this book. You'll probably, excuse me. You'll probably notice that this book isn't quite as famous as some of the others that I've selected. That in and of itself is okay. Sometimes it's interesting to engage in some reading beyond the classics or beyond popular fiction even. But the specific reason that I picked this one, there were two actually. One, I vaguely knew the writer personally. He was a teacher in a graduate level class that I took one time. And I enjoyed the class and thought he was a nice guy. And that was one reason that I decided to read this book. And the second reason was because, according to the cover, it is a many-voiced tale of H.P. Lovecraft. I want to say that the fact that I knew this guy vaguely and did like him and did like his class, I haven't let that influence my review of the book, or I've tried not to. You're going to get my real opinions, and I will go ahead and tell you right now, I hated this book. This is by far the worst out of any of the things that we've read so far. The Shining, The Corrections, Anna Karenina certainly, and H.P. Lovecraft, who of course was regular Baconator last week. Now, I hate to say it in a way, but it's how I really feel. Let me explain how I arrived at this feeling about this book. First bone of contention, if you will. You may notice my shirt today. It says Bazinga on it. This is, of course, a reference to the show Big Bang Theory, which is very popular. And this is the catchphrase I'm told, given to understand by some of my dumber friends, of one Sheldon Adelstein. Now, I don't enjoy the show Big Bang Theory despite wearing this shirt. Somebody gave this to me as a joke, by the way. The reason that I don't like it, or one of the many reasons I don't like it, is the constant explaining of pop culture to everyone. Like, the writers of that show seem to not realize that most people have, in fact, seen Star Wars before. And this book does the exact same thing. If you're reading a book in the United States, if you have a brain and eyes, you know who Han Solo is. We all know who Chewbacca is. You don't need to have that kind of stuff explained to you over and over and over again. The worst part about it is that this book even does that about H.P. Lovecraft. Why would anybody be reading a book? By the way, this book isn't even about Lovecraft. This is about Robert Barlow, who was a friend of H.P. Lovecraft, apparently. Who would be reading this book about Lovecraft's friend if he didn't know who Lovecraft was? That just doesn't make any sense. To pick up the point that I was making previously about how, you can see it says right here, a many-voiced story about H.P. Lovecraft, a beauty of a tale, a book full of pleasures. Not true. Not true on any account. Certainly not the pleasure part, and not even the H.P. Lovecraft part, because it's not about Lovecraft, it's about Robert Barlow, his friend. Now, I'm a big Lovecraft fan, and I'll even get down to Lovecraft weeds, like I've read the letters and stuff like that, but this isn't even the weeds. This is like you go out past the weeds, you go down a gully, up to the blasted heath, down into another gully, where you get to these other, even uglier, grosser looking weeds, then you take out your shovel, you start digging down into the earth below the weeds, find some little grubs or roots or something. That's That's what this book is. There's a lot of gay sex in this book, and descriptions of men having sex with other men. It's fine with me. Does not bother me to hear such a thing described. But again, like, consider your readership. Who exactly did you think would be reading this? Is, you know, some guy who's like really wants to read like a gay porno / book about the friend of a writer that they've never actually heard of or know anything about before. So yeah, I don't know that many people really are reading this book, and perhaps that's why. The protagonist of this book, Charlie Willett, is biracial, which you might think would be interesting, especially in a book about, ostensibly about Lovecraft, even though it's not really about Lovecraft, and his notable racist views. But in fact, that fails to be interesting because Charlie Willett simply does and says and thinks about all the same boring shit that a white person would, making his biracialness, somewhat pointless in my view. A lot of books are not very funny, especially a lot of contemporary books. I see they're often trying to be funny or seem to be marketed as though they are funny, and yet they are not funny. This book, I don't think it is described on the cover at least as funny, but it is filled with attempts at humor which go nowhere and do nothing, at least for me. Let's start right here on page 4. This is, I think it's not the first thing. This is the second sentence that our protagonist says in the novel. He has been committed to an insane asylum or a mental health facility recently. He says, quote, "I feel like I'm in high school again, Mar." That's his wife. He said, "The food is terrible and everybody's on drugs. I nearly had a panic attack trying to figure out who's sit with at dinner. Who are the cool kids in an insane asylum? The bulimics look great, but the bipolars make better conversation." Now, I guess this is supposed to be a joke, but it's so kind of feeble and watery that as I was going through this the first time, I was trying to figure out to myself, so this Charlie Willett guy, like, is he joking, or is he just like a real weirdo? Does he really think that the bulimics look great, and it's great to talk, the bipolars make better conversation? First of all, you could just have said the schizophrenics make better conversation. That's funnier right there. But anyway, yeah, don't do it like that. If you are considering writing yourself, or even perhaps if you've already written something and you're wondering whether or not it's funny, you can look back over it and ask yourself a question: does this have any jokes in it? Because a lot of people seem to think that there is some way of making something funny that doesn't have any jokes in it. It can be done if everything else is perfect, but for most mere mortals like me and Paul LaFarge, a joke or two with a real clear setup and punchline, that's what you need if you want to be funny. Or you can not be funny at all. You could be serious or sad or, you know, just normal. But don't try to be funny if you're not funny. I'm not even going to talk about the plot to this book that much because it was just so convoluted and boring and wrong on so many levels that I honestly can't remember most of it. But it did use one of my least favorite plot devices, which was you introduce a character as a character and give us 100 pages to learn about him, and then after you put the reader through all that, oh, that was all just a lie, he's a fraud. Well, now come on, why did you just make me read those 100 pages if you were just going to tell me it was all bullshit? This is a novel, first of all. So there's already one level of bullshit over everything. Now you're putting in a second level of bullshit. Nobody has time for that, Mr. LaFarge. I've explained why I don't like this book. There was a part that I liked, and I'm going to read that part now. Even in the worst books, there is often one thing that is redeemable. This was the one thing, or part of that one thing for me in this book. This is a description of the first annual science fiction convention in New York City. The spacesuits were hopeless. This is costume spacesuits that some people were making. But we carried the mimeograph machine to the roof and spent the rest of the day running off leaflets, From the rooftop, I had a view of countless buildings, more than I had ever seen in one place before. There was the Williamsburg Savings Bank Tower, and behind it the Empire State Building, with its Zeppelin mast and Manhattan rising to the north and south of it like a vast windowed wall. Far in the west was New York Harbor, a silver squib from which the Statue of Liberty poked up like a nail. Cars honked on Flatbush Avenue. Someone was playing Caruso on a record player, and there I was, with 4 of the best-known fans in fandom, printing up anti-fascist propaganda to save civilization. "You guys, this is fun," I said, but the Futurians were sullen and busy. In the light of day, they looked like young gargoyles. Paul had a high forehead and an overbite. Lowndes, who had changed into black trousers and what looked like a red pajama top, had buck teeth and bandy legs. Michelle's cheeks were pocked with old acne scars, and fresh pimples dyed his chin. His right arm was in a sling. The wind blew some pages to the edge of the roof, and Paul shouted for someone to get them. So I got them. I ran down to Paul's apartment for a stapler, and on my way back up I passed a perplexed-looking old woman in a sea green house dress. "Roof repairs," I said. I went up and down, carrying finished leaflets and new stencils, until it was dark outside, and completely lightless in the apartment. Wolheim and Michelle went home, and Lowndes, Paul, and I ate cold beans from the can. Then Lowndes went to sleep on the sofa, and I lay on the hard, dirty floor, thinking about how lucky I was. Why was this my favorite part of this book? I guess whenever you see something that you love become popular, in a way that's always a little sad. Sometimes I see some hot girl wearing a Cthulhu shirt or something, and I think, you know, I don't think you were really hanging out at the library on Saturday night like I was. I bet you were out having fun. It's nice to remember that there was a time when things were pure, when they were first getting started. And that in a way, even though that moment has passed, in another way, maybe it's still happening. Maybe it's still out there in the universe, somewhere, in some other dimension. Let's hope so. Anyway, that was indeed the one thing I liked about this book. I am going to give this one a 2. I'm not going to give it a 1. I didn't think that there was anything morally objectionable about this book. I didn't think it was evil or sickening or anything like that. But I did think it was very, very bad and very boring. So I'm going to give it a 2. Sorry, Paul LaFarge. If you'd like to defend yourself in the comments section, feel free.